Okay, year 10, just a reminder, this week it's all about focusing on question technique because next week we're going to issue you with your end of topic test on the American West and we'll be doing some question planning. So this is about getting you ready for your open book assessment. It's about getting you ready to be really successful in every question type. So just on to the next slide. Okay, this lesson focuses on the consequence question, and this is question 1 on the paper. So in this example on screen, we've got explain 2 consequences of the discovery of gold in California in 1848. So I'd just like you to copy that question down. Obviously, you might need to pause the video whilst you do that. Now, when you see the consequence question in the exam paper, the examiner kindly lays out what the consequence question looks like. So the answer booklet will indicate how much you need to write. So better answers will be concise, relevant and focused on the question because as you can see in my example, you're not given a huge amount to write for each consequence. And bear in mind that the examiner has to cater for people with large handwriting as well as those with smaller or normal handwriting. So you're not expected to write a great deal. So just on to the next slide. So year 10, if we just revisit the mark scheme for this consequence question. Now you've got to bear in mind that each consequence is marked separately out of 4. So they are marked as individual short answers. And if you look at our descriptors, we're interested in level 2 because we want to get 3 to 4 marks. We want a really good mark on this question. So what you've got to do, according to the mark scheme, is you've got to explain a consequence and then you've got to use specific information about the topic is added to support the explanation, showing good knowledge and understanding of the period. So in each consequence, you need to have a clear opening statement explaining what the consequence is, and then you need to develop that explanation with clear and precise evidence showing how the consequence can be explained. So if we move on to the next slide, now we understand this. Okay, so here we have a worked example. So if we look at step 1, we've got to state the first consequence because that's the criteria of level 2 of the mark scheme. So we need a clear statement of consequence. So in this example, we've got one consequence of the discovery of gold in California was that it resulted in a massive wave of emigrants to the hills of California. That means people migrating from one part of the United States or the country to California because of the gold rush. That's a consequence because of the discovery of gold. We then have to support this consequence with lots of detailed evidence. So we've got to explain the consequence and link back. So we've got to then explain our knowledge about who went to California, in what numbers and where from, and then we can link it back. So once you've done that, you'd be on 4 out of 4, done well. And then obviously to earn the rest of the marks, you've got to be able to repeat this process, but for a different consequence. Something else came as a result of the discovery of gold, and you've got to explore that with the examiner following the same principle. So what I need you to do now is, you've already got the heading, explain 2 consequences of the discovery of gold in California. I want you to complete consequence 1. You can use my writing frame, my connectives, and obviously you've got a little grid on the right hand side that will help you with that. And specifically for the first consequence, you need to look at the column acted as a pull factor. And then for the second consequence, you need to come up with a clear statement of what the consequence is and then support with your own knowledge. And obviously the other 2 consequences you can look at are the impact of law and order that discovery of gold had in California, or the development of racial violence. And that would then be the second consequence, and done well, that would be 8 out of 8. So that's your task now, just to get that question practice on this consequences question. Once you've done that, just on to the final slide. Okay, and this is just one final opportunity to practice our technique on the consequence question. This time I don't require you to write the answer out in full, but what I want you to do is look at this question, which is explain 2 consequences of the completion of the first transcontinental railway in 1869. You can find details about that on page 16 of our revision guide, and see if you can use the guide to plan an answer for this question. So remember, you need a clear opening sentence introducing the consequence, then you need some key bullet points of the evidence or explanation you would use to support that consequence, and then you need to repeat. So you've got 2 clear consequences. So you've created a clear opening sentence about one consequence with supporting evidence, and then a clear opening sentence about a second consequence with supporting evidence. And obviously, once you've done that, it'll be a useful reminder for our open book assessment of how you can be successful on the consequence question and how you can guarantee yourself full marks. Okay, thank you, Yew Ten.